And pink.
Yeah, it fits. I thought that would be appropriate to start tonight. Welcome to Chaucer's Books in-person store signing with Jessica Winters Mireles.
Can't believe it.
Before we begin our talk tonight, I just have a few reminders. The restroom is down the computer aisle through the back of the store. Please feel free to utilize that. Remember to wash your hands. Also, if you do want another book, of course, if you write your book, that's great that Jessica signs it. As long as it's not bought on Amazon, we're okay with that.
It's a love-hate
But if you
relationship.
do want to buy more books, we have several on sale, for sale, behind the registers with Dee, Gretchen, and Bethany and Tross in the back.
And I'm happy to sign them, so bring them over.
Couple quick announcements. Starting Thursday, we have an event with Lise Will. She's a national journalist who wrote about Robert Hansen, A Spy in Plain Sight. She'll be here at 6 o'clock. On Sunday, we have a kid's book with our own Mary Penny, who wrote Green Eyes and Ham. She's a longtime Chaucer's beloved employee, and she's a great children's writer. And then on July 7th, for baseball fans, we're going to bring director Ron Shelton, who directed the movie you might have heard of, Bull Durham. He wrote a book about the subject, and he's a local too, and he'll be coming back as well. But tonight, it's been 2 long years plus.
Can't believe it.
And
It's gone by in a flash, hasn't it?
It has. In fact, when I was first hired on as the events coordinator, you were going to be my first signing, and
I ruined it for
I don't
you.
know what happened.
I remember I was like, Michael, can we still do it? And he's like, no.
It wasn't up to me. I would have
No.
said yes. We would have had it in the parking lot. Thank you very much
I'm
for your
so happy
patience.
to be here, and thank you for supporting me this whole 2 years and keeping my book out and keeping it going. So it's been a slow trickle, and I think it's still selling. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing. So I'm happy about that.
But the wonderful thing is the work, oftentimes writers, they're the worst marketers in the world, especially when it comes to selling.
It's hard.
This woman is amazing.
I have millennial and Gen Z children. That's what they are.
If you don't mind me sharing, we've sold like over 300 of her books.
Wow,
Which
that's
is
great.
huge for a local author. We're getting into T.C. Boyle. No.
He was my teacher.
I know he was.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a teacher of mine at USC.
I remember 2 years ago you put a post up.
Yeah.
We had your book beside
Yeah.
his right here. We were very stoked about that.
Yeah, that was one of the best classes I had at USC. It was
Yes.
really great.
I have to ask, how were you able to persevere through this?
I think it's because I'm a piano teacher, and some of my students are here tonight. Honestly, I have the patience of a saint. I really do. Working with little kids, and they come in and they want to talk through their lesson, or they don't practice, and I have developed that total patience of just kind of letting things unfold. So I stuck with it. I stick with things, and I stuck with the book.
Well, it's wonderful that you have patience as a teacher, but you're a concert pianist.
I wouldn't say
And,
that, but
well, you perform.
I can play the piano.
And usually you expect perfection with yourself. So how were you able to translate that to students without being impatient?
Okay, so the thing is this, I don't really like perfection. I don't like that idea of perfection because I tell my students this, I don't want you to be perfect because then it means you're not human. And I really think the best musicians are the ones that can, show who they are, show their soul, show their heart in their playing. And so, mistakes here and there, that makes you human, it's part of life. And I like that. So I'm not that big into perfection. I really am not.
Okay.
I'm more into, showing who you are to the world through your music.
But as an artist in a different realm, how were you becoming interested to be a writer? I mean, you're transferring from one art to the other.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I went with music because my parents wanted me
ruined
to.
your
That's
life.
My mom ruined my life. I was really good at music, and I succeeded really well, and I made my parents happy. And I mean, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy it, but honestly, I don't think performing was my passion, and teaching is more my passion than performing. But I think I always wanted to be a writer. I used to love it as a kid. I was always reading books, loved the library. And so I think I was writing in my head all these years. So here I'm raising 4 kids, and I'm writing in my head. I never wrote anything down. I just did in my head. And then the story, what happened to me was that my youngest, where is she? There she is. Cute little orange dress over there. She got cancer when she was 2.5. So that experience was like this pivotal experience in my life. And I realized after she, was out of the woods that I really wasn't going to waste any more time. I was going to pursue what I wanted to pursue. So I started writing. I started a blog. I started writing articles. I took writing classes. I met people, formed writing groups, and I just decided, and then I just sat down one day and said, I'm going to start writing a novel. And I literally wrote the first chapter of Lost in Oaxaca. It wasn't quite the same as it turned out to be, but it was basically that.
When you wrote this book, how much of your life experience was going on? And, I mean, you were married already.
Yeah, married to a Zapotec man.
Zapotec, yeah.
I'm a piano teacher. Yeah, there's a lot of me in this book. Let me say that.
How much of you is it?
Well, I don't think I'm as. I know that I'm a privileged white woman. Okay, and so is Camille, the main character. I'm not as privileged as she is. I'm also a little more aware, but I'm only aware of culture and race and all that because I'm married to a man who has taught me a lot. Before when I first met him, I was not an aware person. So that sort of process that Camille goes through in the book is something that I've gone through in my life. Being married to a man of color, an indigenous man, and he's taught me a lot. And he's not here tonight because he's in Oaxaca. Is he lost? He's lost.
It's actually the sequel.
I'm to go hunt him down. Yeah, so there's a lot of me, a lot of the experiences come from personal experiences. I mean, that's all writers write their own lives, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's a lot of me in there.
Did this subject just come to you? Did the storyline just come to you?
Well, the opening chapter where Camille's on the bus in the mountains, that is something that happened to me. I mean, there was no monsoonal storm, but literally the first time Renee and I went to his village in the mountains, it was in a ramshackle diesel bus on a dirt road. This is before the road was paved. It's now beautifully paved, but back in the 80s it wasn't paved. And it was a 6-hour windy road up into the mountains. And it was here I was this, sheltered woman that had just graduated from USC and going into this rural experience is just something that I thought was very interesting.
What struck you in your first experience when you were in Oaxaca? What do you remember most?
Well, I remember that I got sick. That was hard, and it was a beautiful experience. I mean, I love Oaxaca. I love the people. They're beautiful. I love the language. It's just a different life than I'm used to here, so, but it was life-changing, it really was. It's a beautiful, beautiful culture.
I like what you said at the beginning when Alejandra and Camila were talking, and she goes, what's the plan? And it just shows you our way of thinking as Americans clashing against the culture that she finds herself immersed in.
Life is slower there. I mean, honestly. In fact, my husband is so funny. He's become very Americanized living, and he walks fast now. But when you get to Oaxaca, people are strolling down the street very slowly, looking around, and he's like behind him, like hurry up, because he's become more Americanized. But yeah, the pace is different. It's just a completely different lifestyle than it is here.
Sorry.
Well, you really took us there. Thank you for taking me.
Well, thank you for going.
The description of everything from the food, which I went out and got mole.
Oh yeah,
I read it.
The mole's amazing.
The colors of the flowers, even the wetness of things, the sweat, the humidity.
Yeah.
You really put the person, the reader, in that. You give them a sense of place. And
Good.
how much time in research did you take to?
Well, a lot of the research came from my experiences there. So, you know, the trips we took there, and the kids have all been, and a lot, you know, often, a couple of times I went on YouTube. Yellow Teco people, they video everything. I mean, they're filming all their dances, and I don't know if all of you know this, but there's a huge community in Los Angeles of people from Renee's hometown. I mean, thousands and thousands of people who come from this town and their family, the generation. They've all migrated to Los Angeles, or lots of them, and so they continue on the culture in Los Angeles with all the dances and all the things they do, the parties. It all takes place in LA, just like it takes place in Yalloa. So you could go on YouTube and just type in Yalloa, and you can see
spell it.
If you can spell it. Yeah, well, if you read the book, you can spell it. Anyway, it's all out there. Amazing. It's right there at your fingertips. So if you're ever interested in taking a look, I highly recommend that.
Was that your intent to totally immerse the people? I mean, before the characters come in place, you're immersed in the place, and then you're immersed in the characters.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that was your intent to set that up that way.
Michael, there's no intent in this novel, honestly. I mean, this is my first novel. I'm not a seasoned writer. You know, somebody
surprised me.
Well, thank you, appreciate that. Somebody said, and you know, it took me forever to get it published. First of all, I got so many rejections. But one particular man I spoke with who did not end up taking it, he said, "You write like a musician, like a person who plays an instrument." You know? And so I think that maybe that helped me. I mean, I didn't have the experience, but I had that something, that artistic something that maybe made writing come a little easier.
When you were writing, did you have a soundtrack then? Because it reads like a piece.
Oh, that's interesting. No, I didn't. It was, you know,
because it flows very naturally.
Yeah, that might be the musical,
you know, crescendos and
the phrasing of
yeah.
the right. Yeah, and it's just something natural in me that I have developed being a musician, I think. So that's probably what it is. But I honestly did not have a plan when I wrote this novel. I wrote the first chapter, I wrote the second chapter, and the story went on as you know. So I feel like the end of the novel is better than the beginning, you know, because I was new at it. So, but I worked through it, and then I went back and rewrote the whole thing probably 4 or 5 times. I mean, this is years in the making. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this next novel I write will be quicker, but probably not.
But without revealing the end, you get a big reward. The reader gets a big reward.
I love a happy ending, yeah.
Well, I can see how you put that together. In terms of the characters, where did they come from?
Well, Alejandro is, of course, based on my husband, Rene, who is a really good man and taught me so much. I won't say Camille's mother is based on my mom.
A little bit.
She does redeem herself at the end, and it's all about really redemption and about change and about you know, looking at the world with new eyes. I mean, because honestly, I mean, we have seen it over the past how many years, how much polarization there is between people in this country, and it's really about just looking at people, looking at the good in people, and trying to find that, even though it's hard sometimes. And so, you know, Camille was able to go through that experience and change how she viewed life, and she ended up with a much happier life than she started out with. So that's the lesson, I think. Yeah.
So how long did this whole process take?
Oh my gosh, I think I started writing the novel in 2011. So what is that, over 10 years?
Only 10 years.
Only 10 years. I mean, but I would literally just go, you know, I was a busy mom and had teaching. I taught every afternoon. So every morning I would write for a couple hours, and on weekends I'd write, and just sort of build. And I tell my students that just do a little bit every day, and you'll get somewhere. You know, you'll learn the piece if you do that. And yeah, I think I followed my own advice.
Well, a couple hours is a lot to
Yeah.
commit. I mean, you have 2 jobs. You're a teacher and you're a mother.
Yeah.
2 full-time jobs, I should say.
Yeah.
One which you only get paid for one of those.
Yeah,
And,
really.
But some writers I know who are in the same, like not even mothers, but they 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
But you really.
Well,
committed
it goes
yourself.
by fast. It's just like practicing like an instrument. You sit down and you're in the zone, and it goes by fast. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty consistent. I think consistency is the key. I was pretty consistent, and I did it.
Wow.
Yeah, over a really long time.
How many drafts did you do?
I think I had like 5 drafts. Yeah, I'm going through, and
That's
I had
good.
written it in first person, and then I gave it to someone to read, and she said, you know, you really should put it in third person, and then you have more room to do other things. And I'm like, oh no! So I went through the whole thing and changed it all, and it worked better. You know, so I think the thing that was good that I learned was that I took a lot of advice from people, other writers, and I listened to them, and I didn't get defensive.
Mhm.
I just said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I should do that. You know, instead of like, well, I'm not going to let them tell me what to do. You know, I really was open to ideas.
What was the best advice somebody gave you?
Oh, I don't know. Keep at it, I guess. Don't give up.
What was the best advice you didn't listen to?
I don't think there is anything. I think I listened. I really do. I think I listened to what people told me to do. Yeah. I had a lot of people who knew stuff, you know, and a lot of my friends, you know, I have the most incredible friend community, and I just so love them so much, yeah. And they were just so supportive from the very beginning. They were like, you can do it, keep going, you can do it. And so that really spurred me along. So I appreciate that.
That's great that you can take that, because as a writer, sometimes you don't want to hear that from people close to you.
Yeah,
You know, you just want them quiet, you know, you feel the pressure, but
yeah,
if you turn it around and feel the love and
Yeah.
feel the support,
yeah.
it kind of drives you forward, and that's what it seemed like it did for you.
Yeah, it was really helpful. And family too. Family's been amazing. Yeah, my kids. Where are my kids? Raise your hand.
Over there, and then,
My 4 daughters are here, and so there.
oh, there's
There's the other one. I'm just so thankful for them, and my mom, and she's a writer too. She had a book signing here. Remember?
oh yeah.
My
yeah,
mom
yeah,
has a
yeah.
book. It's called "So Your Bitch Is Pregnant."
Yeah.
It's about dog breeding. Don't get your feathers ruffled.
The title sold a lot alone.
So actually, I started writing the book, and then she's like, "Well, if you're going to write a book, I'm going to write a book." So
Is there a little mother-daughter competition?
yeah, a little bit.
That's nice. That's good. Just like Camila and her mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Not to that extreme, but shopping it now. Wait, before I get to that, I want to ask, when did you realize that you really had something together? Was there a moment, or was there a period of time where you just?
You mean when I thought that this could go, this
Yeah,
could
that
make
this
it?
could go.
Well, I actually had a writing group in Santa Barbara that formed from an old high school friend, and there were probably, you know, it kind of, people filtered it in and out, but there was a core of us of about 7.
Mhm.
And when I read the first chapter at the writing, I almost didn't go to the writing group because I was terrified, and I was like, I'm not going to share this with anyone. And they're like, just come and see what it's like. So I read the first chapter, and they were like, yeah, that's a great story. You should keep going. That's really good. And I was like, it is? Because I really suffer from
Wow.
imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and I think many of us do. And I was like, ugh, I don't know what I'm doing. So, but they liked it, and every week when I would go back and read more, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's great. What's going to happen next? So it was very encouraging.
So it was hard to get in the door then, at first.
Yeah, well, trying to find someone to publish your book is the hardest thing. Yeah, that's
So let's
really
talk
hard.
about that.
Well, I think I sent out 150 emails or query letters,
Wow.
and I got maybe out of those query letters or emails maybe 10 people that wanted to read the manuscript, which is
Mhm.
pretty good, you know, for a nobody. I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
A lot of publishers don't want to take a chance on you because they don't.
8% is pretty
Yeah,
good.
I
actually,
don't
yeah.
have a platform. I wasn't marketable. I'm a middle-aged white woman who
Yeah.
wrote a book, but and one New York agent had it for like, gosh, she had the book for 8 months, and she's like, I like this, and then I think she put it on the slush pile. And finally I contacted her. I said, what's going on? She says, well, you know, I like it, but I don't love it, so I really need to love it to take it on. So that was a little crushing, because I was like, here's my big break.
Did you feel she was kind of stringing you along then?
I think it's part of the job. I
It
mean,
is.
you know.
It is.
I mean, imagine, there are so many writers in this world, and I mean, people, good writers, people write a lot of good stuff, and so yeah, it's hard to get it marketed. So I think the edge my book had was that it's interesting. It's about Oaxaca, which isn't a huge I mean, if you type in romance novels in Oaxaca, the only one that's going to come up is this one. So I was pretty smart, you know. And someone initially had said, you shouldn't make it a romance novel. It should be, you know, that should be a side story. It should be more about blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I like romance novels. I like love stories. I want it to be a love story. So anyway, it worked out.
Was it hard to keep the faith? I mean,
yeah, it was hard. It was hard. I think a couple of times I got so stressed out about it that my shoulders tightened up so much that I literally couldn't lift my arms for like a month.
Yeah.
And I had to take a break from writing because I was so tense. It affected my body. But yeah, I don't know what pushed me to keep going, but I did it. It was a dream I had. You know, I just wanted to do it.
So what happened? Who found you?
Oh, well, She Writes Press is a hybrid. Now, people get all weirded out by that term, hybrid. They're like, right, it's like, what do they call it, vanity publishing? No. You do invest in your publication, so you have to put up some money. But it's very professional, and this particular publishing company is really like the top of that hybrid publishing. And it's all women, so I thought that was really great. And they helped me along the way. I mean, designed the cover. I mean, I did a lot of the work myself, which was really a learning experience. So I think it's been successful for me. I don't think I would have gotten my foot in the door otherwise because, like I said, 150 letters to publishers and didn't get a taker. So I consider myself lucky that I actually it's out there.
And now you have this wonderful book that you released in COVID.
It was not my plan.
So what was that like?
Very disappointing. Very disappointing and very hard.
How were you able to keep the faith? I mean, 2 years. You're sitting here now, but 2 years ago,
you know,
you're probably disappointed. I would imagine, because
it was really sad. It was really sad. I don't know. I just sort of kept promoting it on social media, you know, Instagram, and you know, keeping it out there. And my friend Michelle, I don't know if she's still here, but there she is. She took a lot of really good pictures. We'd go on girl trips or something, and she'd be like, "Oh, get the book," and she took a picture. Thanks, Michelle. Anyway, so anyway, I have all these good pictures to put on social media, and I kept, you know, and I would, you know, promote it, and you know, spend some money on advertising, and it just try to keep it alive, and I kept it alive for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Yeah, and now I feel like I can put my baby to rest.
Okay, I was
now
gonna
that we
ask
had
you.
this, now I feel like, I can move on because I've really been in limbo for a couple of years.
So are you done with Camila and Alejandro?
I don't know. People want me to write a sequel, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I have something else in mind.
But you also did. Let me see if I have the photo. We don't have the books here.
Oh yeah. So
unfortunately.
we had promoted the fact that there was this wonderful compilation of essays and artwork called "Art in the Time of Unbearable Crisis."
Yeah.
It's en route now. The books they just didn't make it to my house. The publisher called me today and she said, "I got my box. Did you get yours?" And I was like, "No." So probably when I get home, UPS will drop it. But you can order the book from Chaucer's, and it's a really nice book. It's got all kinds of. It's about how art has carried us through some really terrible times in the past. You know, I don't know, since Trump was elected. Politics out of it. Okay. Anyway, and I wrote an essay about how my experience I never thought of myself as an artist, and then looking back, I see that really everything I did in life was artistic, and we are all artists, so we all have something to offer, you know, something beautiful to offer. So anyway, hopefully you'll order that book, and I'll sign my essay in there.
Great. Does anybody have any questions right now? Go ahead,
Michael.
Hi, Jason. So when you found your publisher, did they do any reading and editing? And
Yeah.
Step back and forth. Did you?
Yeah, they have an in-house editor who was amazing.
Oh, that was
She
a good
was
experience.
terrific. Yeah, she ripped it apart.
Oh, really?
I mean, I've never seen so many red marking. I mean, they used, you know, the Word, all, you know, whatever document thing that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I had to pay for that, but it was worth it.
Yeah, sure.
Because I mean, and I had friends like Corinne, who's not here. My friend Corinne is traveling in Switzerland, but she actually ran through it looking for typos, and she found one literally. She was great. She's also doing the audiobook for me, so that'll happen hopefully soon when she stops traveling.
Was it more like copywriting, technical stuff, or was it structure, art,
It was
story, art?
okay. So there wasn't too much of that. It was more how the sentences didn't make
Oh,
sense.
that's-
And there was one
yeah.
section where she was like, the tense isn't right here, you need to do it differently. But no, as far as, I think you can pay more to have, the story arc kind of thing worked on. But I didn't think I needed that. I kind of knew where I was going, but but otherwise it was really
Oh, that's
helpful.
good.
Yeah, it's good to share your work with other people, even though you're afraid, you're terrified. They're going to think you're bad. But people can give you really good ideas, and they can help you a lot.
It's usually the opposite. You think they're gonna rip you apart, but what they
Yeah.
really want to do is love your work.
Yeah.
And they really want to support it.
Yes,
So it's kind of
yes.
juxtaposition.
But
right
it is
there,
very,
so,
it's very, it's a vulnerable thing to share that with the world. It really is, because you think, I know with myself, I grew up with self-doubt, so it was really hard for me to let that go. So I'm slowly but surely. This is a sign of my success. Thank you all.
Do you have any other questions? Yep, go ahead.
What's your favorite scene from the novel and why?
Oh my gosh. Let me think a second. I really like the scene in Yolala when Camille gets drunk. I think that's
mezcal?
really on the mezcal,
Yeah, on the
because that's the first time she kind of loosens up a little bit, and she's like, interacting, and I like the character of the old man who brings her the mezcal very much, because I love, that's something I've seen in Yolala, and it's just that this typical old man, they've got these white whiskers, and their faces are weathered, and they've got their hats on, and they wear certain clothes, and they're just lovely people. And I just wanted to put him in the book, because
Yeah.
I really just loved those men that I would see, and then so I like that interaction they had. So that's one of my favorites. Let's see, I like the love scene between Alejandro and Camille. That's always fun.
Spent a long time on that one, didn't you?
Was there a lot of research done on that?
Well, personal research, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of parts that I really like. I like the scene in the end when Paco, the Cholo character, comes into the hotel room with Sophia
Yeah.
Vanilovich, and just knocks her down, and I won't give any spoilers, but
Yeah.
gets rid of her. I really like that scene. And I think it's appropriate now, because Sophia is a Russian character. So that worked out well. Good timing, yeah. So we can Russian bash, I guess.
My favorite character was
Tianifa.
Tianifa.
Yeah.
Do you have
That's
a favorite
lovely.
She's one of my favorites, yeah. She's like a saint. She was like a saint.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, she was very kind and sweet, and we should all strive to be more like her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I loved all your descriptions about the food.
I know, you're my foodie friend.
I know. I love that hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
You know, like-
Yeah, the food is incredible, and the quesadillas that you can get on the street with the flor de calabaza, which
Oh
is
my God.
squash blossoms in the quesadilla with the Oaxacan cheese. It's truly delightful. It's so good, and the mole is so good, and I don't know, food just tastes really good when you're in Oaxaca because you're tired from walking everywhere or something. I don't know, but it's really good food. It's the capital of cuisine. I mean, people just go crazy for the Oaxacan
Oh, I
cuisine.
bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Are there any other questions? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
were you able to read other writers while you were writing? Or did you get influenced, or was that too much to influence what
I
you were
did
doing?
read. I did read during the process, but I think every book I read, I take influence from.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh, sure, you're
Because
right.
you're a writer
It's
too.
almost overwhelming.
And I know, but I mean, sometimes it's funny. You'll read a certain book and then you'll sit down and start to write, and you realize that you're writing in that author's voice. You know, you're like trying to kind of copying them, so you have to be careful. Yeah, it's hard. But yeah, I take a little from.
Who would be your big influences?
Oh my gosh.
Say that.
I should have thought about this beforehand. I'm sorry.
Mike Hammer.
Good job, Nora.
Fanny Flagg.
Yeah, I do love Fanny Flagg.
Is it all young
I love
day, or-
corny. I love corny stuff. I just love. I love all. I just really have a wide variety of writers I like. There's not
Yeah.
one particular. I know that I'll get home and I'll think of who I like. I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just very, very eclectic. I like different voices, and one of my favorite books is of all time. It's funny. Now I can't think of his name. City of what's it called?
Thieves.
City of Thieves.
It's a fun.
What's his name? What's the author's name again? Now he does TV. He did great Game of Thrones.
Martin?
Martin?
What's his name? CC.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's a book it takes place in Russia during World War II. It's one of my favorite books. Anyway, so it's just an action, very interesting. Yeah. Anyway, I like a lot of different writers.
And we'll close our last question.
Yes.
How did you find your title?
Oh gosh, that's so funny. It was really struggling with the title for a long time. My husband used to refer to it as calling the book Camille's Big Adventure. So I was just sitting down at the computer one day. I'm like, oh God, what am I going to call this? And the whole theme is being lost. I mean, the whole idea of the San Antonio thing is finding something that you've lost.
Yeah.
And then I said Lost in Oaxaca, and I just sort of said it, and I'm like, Lost the sounds
Yeah.
are good, and it just worked. And I was like, Lost in Oaxaca, that sounds really good, and it worked.
Yeah.
It just kind of came to me. It does. Everything just kind of comes to you after a while.
Well, like the book, it worked out perfectly.
Yes.
In closing, I just heard this song by a country group, The Chicks.
Love the Chicks.
And something about it's been 2 long years since the top of the world came crashing down. And I'm taking the long way around, and you took the long way around,
I did.
but I think it really paid off.
I
for you,
think so. I mean, thank you,
congratulations.
and thank you for your support and Chaucer's support. I really appreciate
you.
it. Thank you all for being here with me tonight, my dear friends, and I appreciate it so much. It means so much to me. It's been fun. We'll do it next time. Give me another 10 years to write this song. So.
Is something coming up?
I've started it, just barely, but now that I'm going to lay this Lost in Oaxaca to rest, I think that I'll be able to move on. And it's been rough. It's been rough with COVID. We're all distracted.
Yeah.
It's just been weird. So I have to kind of work my way through. So, but I'll do it. It's in my blood.
Well,
it makes
you
me
better
happy.
hurry up.
I know,
and
seriously.
Let's not have a pandemic so we can get you in right.
Please no.
Thank you. And
Thank
let's
you.
sign some books
Yeah.
right here. Please line up here. So thank you.
you all.
Purchase the books behind the counter over there.
And the tree trimmer. My brother-in-law made them. Oh, good.